Well, welcome. This is a video for the district board, primarily for the new members of the district board. This summer I talked about having an orientation Zoom meeting or scheduled meeting, and just did not get that on the calendar. Instead of adding an additional meeting, I thought I'd just do a video. I'm going to send you my notes that will accompany this video, so you can some of the links and stuff such that are in it. And feel free, if you have questions, to email me back or to give me a call or set up a call. We can work that out. But I want to give you an overview of the district board, what is expected, and sort of where we fit into the bigger picture. So the district board consists of 13 members that are roughly equal lay and clergy, with an odd number. It's hard to get exactly, but that's the way we set it up. Our polity on even how we have the district board is set up by the discipline of the Wesleyan Church. So there's actually we'll have a link that you can download a PDF of the discipline if you'd like to have it. You can order, or we can get you a printed copy of that as well. And so that gives the guidelines for how the district works, and it stipulates that the DS serves as the chair of the DBA, and then the officers, and all this is follows the discipline. The district also follows our standing rules, where we have taken some policy action at district conference through the years. And so I'll put a link in the notes also to our standing rules. They're also printed in our district journal each year. So the DBA normally meets 5 times a year. So we have the organizational meeting at Houghton in the summer. And then we'll have quarterly meetings at the beginning of each quarter, at the end of each quarter, so following the end of each quarter. So the first quarter is June, July, August. We'll meet in early September. And then we meet in early December, in March, and in June following the end of the church year. And we typically meet on Tuesday afternoons from 1 to 5, actually, almost exclusively. That's when we'll do our meetings. And we'll set those up at the organizational meeting, which we did already. And after the meetings, you'll be invited to, unless something comes up, you'll be invited to join us for dinner if you'd like. Usually that's just something informal. Although in December, we have a Christmas dinner, and your spouse is invited. It's usually a little nicer. We're actually going to have this catered, have some gifts for you at the December meeting. So that'll be at South Creek following our December DBA meeting. So that gives you some overview of that. I went through at our meeting, but not all were there, the meeting in Houghton, what I consider 5 characteristics that make a good board member. So I just want to go over those. They're also going to be listed on the notes I send to you. Number 1, that you're prayerful. I would love for you to pray regularly for me, pray for our leadership team, pray for our meetings, just that when we come to them, you pray that God would give you insight, and to pray for our churches of the district. That just as you come to these, you're going to become aware of unique circumstances throughout our district. Maybe a pastor that's going through some unique challenges, or a church that's looking for a pastor or going through some hard times. And we don't necessarily share all of this in like the district newsletter, and there are a lot of people praying, but if you as the DBA would be praying for these needs, that is very helpful. Second, that the information that's shared at a DBA meeting is held in confidence. And by that, I mean just if you learn something at the DBA meeting, that you're not going to share that to people outside of the DBA. So if you want to talk to me, if you want to talk to one of the other DBA members, they have that information. You need someone to talk to, that's great. In most circumstances, I'm also very comfortable with you talking to your spouse, as long as they know that it's confidential. There might be some circumstances which it's too close to home, and that wouldn't be wise. And if you have any questions, just ask me about that. But primarily, I'm worried about you. Not worried. I'm just emphasizing that you don't share information outside of the DBA, so that you're talking to a pastor, even the one that we've talked about, and you just say something that was said about him, or something that you would not know otherwise. That breaks down the trust and the confidence that, or the ability we have to discuss openly there some difficult topics at times. So confidential. Third is innovative. Just that we would think outside the box. I want to think creatively about how to support churches, how to fulfill our mission, how to be the district that God wants us to be. And sometimes I'm asking myself, what would the district look like if we just started it today? Because while there's an advantage of 160 years or more of tradition, if we were to do it today, what would it look like? Or what would the needs be that we're trying to address? How can we network more effectively? You can see there's examples of networks that are starting up all over the place. What are they doing that is working? And so I think being innovative is helpful for a DBA member. Fourth is to be outspoken. I prefer a board that doesn't just defer to me. If they think I'm wrong, that you would tell me. Challenge me when you think it's necessary. Raise questions if you don't understand. So we go through something, and because several on the board have been on the board for years, we may know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't understand, raise a hand. Just say, hey, listen, what is that? And so I appreciate it, even at our meeting down in Bradford, how there were some that just did that. So I really like being outspoken. On that, even to challenge me, as a superintendent, I'm sort of the boss, I'm the chair of the meeting, but I need you to be able to challenge me if you think I'm doing something inappropriate or unbecoming of a superintendent. You can always talk to me, and it may just be a misunderstanding. But if that doesn't resolve it, you're always welcome to go and talk to Dan Jones, who's my assistant DS, or my general superintendent is Wayne Schmidt. So I'll put the numbers for both in the notes, just so you have those, and it'd be appropriate as a DBA member to talk to them. If you feel like there's something I'm doing that's inappropriate and you've talked to me and that hasn't brought resolution. Fifth, that's the fourth, is to be in alignment with the vision. So though I want you to be creative, innovative, outspoken, don't be stubborn when the board has decided on a course of action. Help me to sharpen the vision. If it's not clear, help us to be clear about it. But if it's clear and agreed upon, do what you can to support the direction as decided by the board. And so that is to keep in alignment with the vision that God is leading us. Now, we do have a mission statement. It was actually decided on before I became DS. It is that the Western New York District of the Wesleyan Church exists to support our churches and foster partnership in carrying out the Great Commission. So first and foremost, our primary goal is to carry out the Great Commission. So to make disciples of all peoples and to continue building up the kingdom of God. We do that through local church. So the district is not necessarily out there making converts, but we help the local churches to be healthy, effective, strong. And so we do what we do to help support the local churches. And we do that some directly and some through fostering partnerships. And by that I mean to help other churches, help the churches in our district to help each other. I know the staff at the district is fairly small, but if someone calls me and says, what's going on with security, or has a question, say, on security, I may refer them to Mike Dwyer up at Eastern Hills. That he's probably one that knows best how to help you with this. And kids ministry, the district doesn't have a professional children's minister, but I can say, April Allen or Becky Todd is someone that we have sort of identified as helping in that area. So networking and fostering partnerships, even churches helping other churches. And that's been a tradition in our district for churches to work collaboratively, to work even sacrificially to help other churches, and I think that's so important. Our core values on the notes you'll see listed out: dependence upon God, that we don't do this on our own strength. It is only through God. And if it's something that we can do on our own strength, it's probably not as lasting as doing something that God is working on. Partnership, I already mentioned that, working together. Developing healthy leaders. So as the leader goes, there goes the church. If the leader is healthy, he is going to eventually create a healthy environment, healthy culture in that church. If the leader is unhealthy, we need to do what we can to develop them, either through counseling, through coaching, through whatever intervention we can, so that leader does not create an unhealthy culture in the church, and that can happen. Building healthy churches, that's our goal. It's not just the bigger the better. There are some large churches that are unhealthy. There are some small churches that are very healthy. Healthy churches will grow. They will reach new people for Christ. And that is what we need to work on. Whatever size, are you healthy? Are you effective? Are you dependent upon God? And lastly, stimulating missional multiplication. And this idea of multiplication, sometimes you think of it as church planting. It is more than just that. So it's multiplication even on the disciples making disciples. So every person in the church is really to go and make a disciple, and that their disciples will make disciples. And then the churches, when you have a healthy church, I think part of our goal is to start other healthy churches and to help us to fulfill the ministry of the kingdom throughout Western New York. And so we have, whether it's in the city of Buffalo or reaching ethnic communities, new immigrants in the community in Buffalo, or other outlying areas. Niagara Falls, we don't have a church in Niagara Falls. Batavia, we closed our church in Batavia probably 15 years ago. Jamestown, we have a couple in Faulkner, which is right next door, but the city of Jamestown is probably one of the larger population areas without a church. So what can we do to see that the work of God is continuing in these other areas? That's the focus on multiplication. Now, the Western New York District is part of the North American General Conference. So the Wesleyan Church started in the 1830s, but it primarily started actually in central New York, but now we have 22 districts. And just to give a brief overview, there's the North American General Conference, which is Canada and the United States. And Wayne Schmidt is the general superintendent of the North American General Conference. The general board is similar to the district board. They have, I think, 24 half lay, half clergy, and these are from the different geographic areas, and they are elected at general conference. And then the 22 22 districts throughout North America each have a district superintendent, each have a DBA, and much the same structure as we have. In that structure, we are about mid-size as far as total number of people that attend our churches. We are probably small in the number of churches. We're not the smallest. And certainly in the geographic area, we are probably the smallest because it's a fairly tight geographic area where we serve. And that's partly because we have several strong, healthy churches in the Buffalo area and the Houghton influence in the Houghton church. And so we have quite a concentrated number of churches in Western New York. Nationwide, there are about 1,500 Wesleyan churches throughout North America. So if you divide that by 22, you see probably the average is somewhere around 70, 75 churches in a district. We're running 35 counting our campuses right now. Western New York District was established in 1861. We were originally the Lockport Conference of the Wesleyan Methodist Church. So if you get a chance, we have a booklet that we put out for our sesquicentennial back in 2011. There's our 150th anniversary. It was our district who helped to establish Houghton Seminary in 1883, which has now become Houghton University. So that's always been a key part of our district ministry. And just to add, one of my roles that I actually asked the DBA if I could carry this out was to be the chairman of the board of trustees for Houghton University. So that actually will take probably an undue amount of my time, an unusual amount of my time. But it was something that we do consider in alignment with the work of our churches and helping our churches to be effective. Either it's sending students to Houghton, or how can Houghton actually help our churches through some of their faculty or administration supporting our churches. I have the prayer map on the notes. There are 31 churches, and that's formal established churches. Now, because Revive has additional campuses, I often will say 35 congregations, like I consider the East Aurora or South Creek or Springville, even Bayview, a congregation. They each have at least 100 people that are worshiping together and have their campus pastor. And so these are the churches throughout Western New York. And on this prayer map, it will have who the pastor is. And that's provided to help you to pray for them as well. Now, you hear us talk about different classifications of churches. There are established churches, and these are the full organizational structure with local boards. There are developing churches, and these are usually newer churches or churches that have decreased in size, and we have placed them back in developing church status. And technically, the DBA would serve as their board. So nothing official is done unless the DBA takes action. And we are in a process of working with them to help them to become established with each of our developing churches. Some may be moved into a mission category, which would say they're probably never going to be a fully established church, but we want to continue supporting them and providing what is needed. Now, we do have a church development board, which is something our district sort of pioneered a few years back. And this is a board that helps to give oversight to these, I think, 8 to 10 developing churches, and such things as their budget, the pastor's salary, even helping them to work on strategy for, growing and putting new leadership in place or lay leadership in place. Occasionally we'll talk about affiliate churches. Right now, the 2 affiliate churches have become developing churches. So Zion Quest was originally an affiliate, and Joy Community. They're both now fully in the Wesleyan Church. In other words, they're not affiliate is more they're not officially Wesleyan, but they are connecting with us. And there may be an occasion where someone would come to us either from an independent church or another denomination and want to affiliate with us as part of the process of becoming fully Wesleyan. And then campuses, which are right now just at Revive, but it is under the local board of that church. And so their assessment and finances are all handled through that one organizational structure. So there are missions, and this might be smaller ministries. We may consider something like the Wesleyan Indian Chapel or Cattaraugus Wesleyan Indian Chapel, almost like a mission. If there were a small immigrant community that we said that they're probably never going to be large enough to be a fully established church, we could designate them a mission. That's just a smaller a post of the church that's organizationally going to be more simple. So the district team, I as the district superintendent, Mary Beth serves as the district administrator, and this is something that when we arrived, we had not served like this in the partnership like this, Mary Beth and I, but the district had their DS and the wife, at least the last 4 DSs had been in that role, so it was something the district was very used to. It works well. I think the gifts, we probably shaped the position of district administrator around Mary Beth's gifts to some extent, and so she is currently serving in that role. Urban advocacy directors, these are people that are, Stephen Ruth Strand, they are employees of the district, and the best way to view them is like a missionary to the urban areas in Buffalo. And so they raise their support through individuals and churches that support them and are paid through the district. So the income comes in and goes to the district. So that is, and their role is primarily to work with inner city missions and to be a bridge between some of the churches throughout the district and the ministry in the city of Buffalo to try to help support that. We also have, so those are all paid. We have an executive team which receive an honoraria, but it's not a full-time by any means, not even part-time, just an honoraria that sort of express appreciation for their service. Dan Jones is the assistant district superintendent. Paul Cronk is the treasurer. Rick Foll is the secretary. And then the lay representative serves on the executive committee, does not receive an honorarium for that, but Kim Pecora is serving as a lay representative on the executive committee. We have some auxiliary directors, and these are just people that are overseeing different aspects of ministry of the district. Some have an honorarium, not all. So clergy care director with Bruce Ellis. Dan Jones, in addition, part of his role as assistant DS, is to oversee the DBMD, that's District Board of Ministerial Development. And so he's the chair of that committee, helps with the process of people who are preparing to be ordained or licensed. Ty Glendenning's working with the Church Development Board, I mentioned that earlier, that works with the developing churches. John Cole is our is called District Youth President. Mindy Tarnish works with the missions. And then Becky Todd and April Allen work with children's ministry. So that's the auxiliary directors. When we, actually in our organizational meeting, there are probably more that we appointed, but that's the key people. The primary responsibility that's listed in the discipline for the DBA is to oversee the health and spiritual vitality of the churches. So we are to steward the district resources to benefit the kingdom work in Western New York. And so the role also is to work with the district superintendent to give guidance and support and accountability to the superintendent. And you review my call every 4 years and make a recommendation to district conference. So the next one will come up in the spring of 2025. So not this year, but the next. A couple things about the district finances. Just to give you an overview of what the district owns or what our assets. We do own the district parsonage, and that's where the district office is. So the office is out of the house, but this is a district-owned parsonage, and that's near Hamburg. It's actually in that's a mailing address of Eden, but very close to Hamburg. We do have property in Cheektowaga. There was a church that closed, Faith Wesleyan Church closed in 2009, and so we have held on to that property. We are, in a sense, letting it be used by ZionQuest. They're paying for the use of that, and really what they pay just goes towards the upkeep of the building. So we actually spend more on the building than it covers. The district car is another property. We do own a building and parsonage in Canastrea, so we talked about that, and we're probably in the process of transferring that over to the Penn York district, because we're letting that church that's meeting there be a campus of the Penn York district of New Hope Church in Hornell. Have a district car. It's replaced every 4 or 5 years. And we have savings, different accounts in Wesleyan Investment Foundation, a brokerage account, and then we are saving as a type of endowment to fund district operations. You also will hear us talk about funds, and so I've listed the 9 or 10 funds that we have, and these are just separating or designating funds that are in our savings to go towards either district ministry, church multiplication, refresh, or different ministries that we would be continuing beyond 1 year. Liability, the only liability is currently that we are secondarily responsible for every loan that any church holds. And currently the cumulative loans of the churches is $2.8 million. Most of that's held by Eastern Hills, but they have done a great job in reducing that, and probably within the next 4 or 5 years we'll be out of debt. Income is received through the assessments, and that's actually a little bit in flux because it changed at the 2022 General Conference. But we'll explain. I've listed in the notes sort of where the percentages come from. And then one sort of novel thing is that we have an agreement with Revive Wesleyan for paying a percentage of the income coming into the campuses. And so because they're under one umbrella of a church, the campuses don't pay percentage of income after the church reaches a cap, and Revive is capped at, it doesn't pay assessment on more than $2 million. And that number is going to go up. But they also have an agreement, since we helped help them start the campuses, that they are in a work so that up to 10% of the campus income will go directly into church multiplication. We also occasionally receive funds when we sell a property, maybe a church closed, or we receive a property for other reasons. And that fund, the DBA, would designate where that would go towards. Accounting structure, just quickly, we have Paul Cronk is our treasurer, but we also have a contract with Shared Accounting Services at Wesleyan headquarters. And so they, in a sense, are bookkeepers. They run our financial books. Paul is still overseeing the finances, but Sherry Gorvette and Tiffany Johnson at headquarters help run the day-to-day operations of the finances. Update on churches. I usually give an update at each DBA meeting. And so I'll probably give some update. Like we have 3 church plants that we're working with. The Resurgent City actually has struggled since Elijah Shemenda left, and so we're considering merging that with Anchor. If that doesn't work out, the DBA has given me authorization to close it, but I have not closed it yet because I'm still trying to get them connected. It's a small group of probably 8 or 10 young adults, trying to get them connected with the Anchor Church. Mission of Christ is a vibrant community in west side of Buffalo that speaks Swahili. The services are in Swahili. A lot of them are immigrants from Congo, Uganda, southeastern Africa. Financially, they struggle, so they're not able to support themselves now, but other churches are supporting them, but they are still a church of probably 60 to 80 people. Then the East Aurora campus was started just a couple of years ago. Kevin and Becky Beers are the campus pastors, and they are doing very well. Couple of items that are shared on the Google folder. Anytime we have a DBA meeting, I'll direct you to the DBA folder or the Google folder, and that has the reports and any treasurer's reports or anything that we need to read. So we will update that as we get closer to a DBA meeting. Just make sure you have access to the Google folder and be able to read through as we get through to the meeting, the information that is on the agenda that will be linked or put into the folder. Just to clarify, you do need, as a DBA member, to make the commitment to abide by the leadership commitments of the Wesleyan Church. Put a link to that. Most of your pastors already do that, but if you're a layperson that are not already on your local board, that is something that's part of the DBA. You are automatically a delegate to district conference. So we meet on June 15th, 2024. Make sure that's on your calendar. And just because you're a DBA member, you don't have to be elected by your local church conference. You are a delegate as a DBA member. Whenever we come to, when you come to a DBA meeting, Paul or someone will invite you to submit mileage. You can do this just to be reimbursed by whatever the IRS says we can reimburse people tax-free. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to, but that's something we offer to each one. Your term elected is a 2-year term, and usually, but not always, we'll renew that term, or I'll talk to you. And there's been a couple cases where we say we have too many people from this church, or we had, like one time we had all the lay people were pastor spouses or too many. And so we just worked it out to say, well, maybe you can step off for a session. And, but that's typically a 2-year term that we'll discuss at the end of 2 years if you're willing to continue serving after that. So, all right. So that gives you a quick 30-minute overview of the DBA. If you have questions, send me an email or give me a call. I'd love to talk to you. Thanks for serving on the district board. I appreciate you. It's been good getting to know you, and look forward to get to know you more over the next couple of years. So God bless.